D23 is over and there is news aplenty. We're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch podcast.
This is the Geek Watch podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 164 of the Geek Watch podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
So, plenty to talk about. D23 was this past weekend.
And the internet exploded.
And the internet exploded. Of course, we were both wondering how much new stuff could they possibly bring in since they had tipped off some things at San Diego Comic-Con. But there was some surprises. There definitely was some surprises. We got a bunch of announcements in those 2 days. What really stuck out to you from those 2 days?
Honestly, being a cosplayer and like a Disney fan, I've known for like 3 or 5 years that Halle Bailey was going to be our Little Mermaid. And absolutely fine with it. The trailer came out. Oh, yay, that's awesome. And then that group of people that you keep talking about came out of the woodworks throwing a fit about it, and it's made for some quite hilarious memes saying it's not historically accurate and historical mermaids, that would have been a manatee, and like this. None of these people complained about white Jesus, but they're complaining about a black mermaid. The memes have been great. In my mind, it's like, we've known this for 3 years. Why are you just now throwing a fit about it? But I think maybe it has something to do with the same way you talk about it. Like, they're getting scared. They're not the voice. They're not the main voice to be heard now. That's what stood out to me.
It is funny because you do talk about a lot of the memes, and one that I remember is in the original movie, Ariel had a trout tail, and now it's a salmon tail. It's like, why all the hatred against the whitefish? I've heard that one.
Oh, that's good.
There's been a bunch of it. The people who are having the issues with the trailer are having problems with is it's very difficult to complain about the skin color of a character and not come off sounding racist. Because you kind of are.
Yeah.
If skin color is the only problem that you're having with this character, yeah, it's hard not to look racist when you're doing that.
Because she's a beautiful singer.
She's definitely...
She looked great. Having seen Aquaman and everything, we knew what to expect like from this underwater world, that we could now believe it. Before technology, just a few years ago, we wouldn't have had that believable, because I think about like Splash. While it was filmed underwater, the underwater scenes, they were nice, but they weren't anything like we could really connect with characters or anything. And that's what really, we know that we're going to get something really special out of this.
Oh, yeah. I loved everything about the trailer. It looked gorgeous. Halle Bailey has this incredible voice. She's going to be able to sing it for sure. Amazing performer. No problems there. Again, you have... Traditionally, it's a Dutch story, and so that's why she can't be black. And it's like, oh, you want the traditional story?
Well, no, you don't.
The traditional story is it's not magic causes her to lose her voice. She gets her tongue ripped out. And every step she takes on land feels like she's walking on broken glass and her feet's bleeding all the time. And she doesn't get the prince at the end and is given the choice to kill the prince so that she can become a mermaid again, but decides not to at the last minute, throws herself into the sea to commit suicide and turns into sea foam.
Yep.
None of that's in there either.
Yep, but we're not complaining about that.
Yeah, it's a small contingent of people that are losing their minds about the shade of this character. And it's not a lot of them, but they're trying to be as loud and obnoxious as they can be.
They just keep clicking down voting. That was the big thing. Like, the trailers got so many downvotes. Like, we don't care.
Here's the other thing, too. As somebody who's on YouTube a lot, I also know that you can't see dislikes on YouTube anymore.
Really?
Yeah, because YouTube got rid of it. You can get a plug-in using vidIQ. Forgive me for going a little nerdy on this. You can get a plug-in that can give you an idea of like percentage. Like a percentage of good to bad, upvotes to down. You can get a percentage, but you can't get an actual number. So every one of these videos or pictures that you see of so many K upvotes and so many K downvotes, every one of them's photoshopped.
Wow.
Because you can't get those numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, caught you in 4K. Yeah. So if somebody's posting one of those pictures, yeah, it's completely Photoshopped.
Yeah, but it's something I'm excited to see. It's my childhood, and of course Pinocchio. But I didn't realize that we're getting the twinning. Every now and then you get those twin movies, like Dante's Peak and Volcano and Deep Impact and Armageddon. We got 2 Pinocchios.
Right.
We have the Disney one, and then we have a stop motion Guillermo del Toro one.
Right.
And I just saw very little bit of that, but I'm excited about both of them, and that's going to be interesting to see.
I think it's going to be an amazing film. A lot of people are going to love it. Besides seeing the trailer that I love the fact that there are all these clips online on YouTube and on TikTok of these young black girls that are just seeing this trailer for the first time, and their eyes get all wide, and that's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, it was beautiful.
It's extremely awesome. So I'm not concerned about a small contingent of people who weren't going to go see this thing anyway.
And if they were, it's a little weird. It's all boomer white men. It's your great-grandbabies by now. Just suck it up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that trailer was a breakout.
And Jodie Benson, the original voice of Ariel, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And then she was talking about her cameos, or what started out as a cameo in Enchanted.
Yeah.
It was just going to be a quick cameo, like an Easter egg. They were going to have these princesses on there, and then she ended up having like a character. And now we've got over 10 years later, we're getting a sequel.
Disenchanted,
yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that you've got the main character. She's this paragon of virtue. She is the classic Disney princess. And she starts dipping into magic, and it's turning her into literally the evil stepmother.
Yes, because she said, I wish my life was a fairy tale. Well, that's the way fairy tales work. If you're a stepmother, you're evil.
Exactly. Brilliant.
It's adorable.
Yeah, and of course, we got another trailer for Hocus Pocus 2, and they released a scene from Hocus Pocus 2 that's out there. And that's, what was that, 27 years?
Oh, my goodness. I know it was early 90s.
Yeah, I'm about to make you feel real old. I'm going to just go off on this for a little bit. This week is the anniversary of the pilot episode of Supernatural that aired 17 years ago.
Wow.
Does that make you feel old?
Oh.
How does it feel?
It does. It's a wonderfully old feeling. It's
Well, welcome to my world. But yeah, the Disenchanted trailer came out.
And I'm so grateful to the whole cast for coming back.
Yeah.
To everyone, Idina Menzel and all of them. I love when there's a good movie. I think about that, and I think about The Mummy Returns. The whole cast comes back. I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. We also got some trailers for new Star Wars shows. One that was a complete surprise that nobody knew about was Tales of the Jedi, which is an animated series. It's going to be like 6 episodes. 3 of Akasha, her backstory, which we're finally getting. And we're also getting 3 episodes that are going to be based off of Dooku, or Count Dooku, and what his life was like when he had Qui-Gon Jinn as his Padawan and before he turned to the dark side.
Yeah.
So now you get to see his descent into becoming a Sith. Which is
that will be very interesting.
And we got a trailer for Andor, and of course, season 3 of The Mandalorian. Although we did, if you didn't watch a Book of Boba Fett, you might not realize that halfway through the series it became a half season of The Mandalorian.
No, I didn't.
So there was some extra stuff in there. It just changed into The Mandalorians.
Andor, it felt like politics has always been a part of Star Wars, but this is the first one that really feels like a political thriller. Espionage, something you would see like like the Ides of March or something like along those lines. That looked really interesting. And of course, we always know that the Star Wars universe is so vast and you could do anything with it. So now we have this political thriller, so that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because, of course, we have to talk about those Marvel trailers, which... The one thing that really struck me looking at them was there's been some criticism about Marvel being too jokey with a lot of their stuff. And they're like, okay, hold our beer. We're going to take all the jokes out. And speaking of political, that trailer for Secret Invasion, holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
It really has that look of a
Body
spy thriller.
Snatchers, yeah.
Like a Clancy. It feels like a Tom Clancy film.
Yeah.
It has that vibe to it, and it's shot that way, and... It's definitely going to have that level of paranoia because you don't know who's who and who can you trust. And that's definitely going to play into it. But it looked amazing. And again, it's a more serious take.
Yeah, and it's like that callback to the Alien movies of the 1950s.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was all about you can't trust your neighbor and the Ruskies are coming after us and all this kind of...
Yeah, a lot of that Cold War type.
Yeah.
And this is like a new Cold War because you have these shapeshifters and you don't know who.
Body Snatchers, the Blob. And...
Yeah, and the thing about it is you see everybody in this trailer and you don't know who's who. Is that even Nick Fury? We don't even know that.
Yep.
There's no way to know that. We've been fooled with a fake Nick Fury before.
A lot.
So it's happened. So that's got me excited. I got to point this out, too. That trailer for Werewolf by Night, which
I would have never guessed that was a Marvel trailer. Like, oh, no idea. It looks nothing like what you'd think it would. It just looks like a Universal monster movie.
Yeah, it has a lot of that Grindhouse feel to it. If you remember Grindhouse, the Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez double feature that they did, it has a lot of that feel because they did things like they would put in the cigarette burns in the corner.
Yeah.
They did the melting film thing at the end. But yeah, there was just so much interesting stuff. It's the whole black and white, cutting some frames out so you get a little bit of a jarring effect, as if like you'd spliced a film because it had broken or something. And so you get that feel of it.
Ooh, ADHD moment to go back to the Secret Invasion.
Oh, yeah.
There was one scene where it's shot in color, but the whole set, everything, all the set dressing is all in gray tones.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're in that kind of like the werewolf movie, like everything is in black and white.
Yeah, it gives the entire scene like a feeling of being really cold. And again, the fact that Marvel and these TV shows are being able to be so artistic and all of that, I find that just incredible. Plus, with this Werewolf by Night, we have all these characters that people may not be as familiar with, like Elsa Bloodstone.
Yep, no idea.
And, of course, the Werewolf by Night. And we got even a small glimpse of Man-Thing. I never thought we would ever get a chance to see Man-Thing. And that's really going to open up, like, the creepier aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm looking forward to that, for sure. But, yeah, that whole trailer was amazing. And we're going to get to see this in a month. Which, my ADHD moment, do you realize how much stuff is going to be coming up next month that we have just forgotten about? I had forgotten the Doctor Who Regeneration episode is next month.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yep.
I completely forgot about it. Now, they haven't announced exactly when, but it's probably going to be around October 17th or so, because that's the 60th anniversary date. So, on or around that somewhere.
Is there Diamond Jubilee?
There you go. And I
almost as old as the Queen was.
Yeah.
Almost.
And I had forgotten about that. And I didn't mention this last week, but I started watching the new episodes of Rick and Morty.
See, I had forgotten that they were coming on. And
yeah, I watched two. There's been 2 episodes so far. And wow, the writing is amazing. The first episode, I don't want to go into a whole bunch of spoilers, but the first episode, they really dove into Rick's crybaby backstory.
The real one?
Yes, the real one. And it got deep in the plot of all of it, and it got really, as you can imagine, nihilistic and existential.
The thing is, they're really good at getting really deep and existential with it, and then turning around and telling you, nope, it was all a lie, the whole thing. So, can we trust this? Is this real this time?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, there was a suspicion that I always had about how do we know that Rick was the true grandfather of the Morty? How do you know that? And now we know. I don't know if I want to go into it more than that, but holy cow.
Okay. I always figured probably not, because that's not their family anymore, so why not?
Oh, yeah. I think I can at least tell you this much, because it's just like the start of it, but when they finally get back, and Rick tries to reset the portal fluid, so he can start using the portal gun again, and makes a mistake and accidentally resets the portal travelers instead. So they all go back to their dimension of origin, all of them.
Okay.
So obviously Morty winds up going...
back to the Cronenberg.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And Rick doesn't. He goes back to his world.
Yep.
So you realize that, and... wow, that world's messed up.
Okay.
And like I said, in the most nihilistic way possible, it's like the most messed up world you can imagine.
That is hard to imagine with all the worlds that we've been on in Rick and Morty.
Well, the thing about it is, it's not like crazy stuff and all that. It's just so nihilistic.
Okay.
Because this was the world where Rick lost his wife and child.
Okay.
And what does that world look like after Rick Sanchez has lost his family. What could possibly happen there? Holy cow.
Okay.
Holy cow. It's pretty nihilistic. But I loved that. And there was the episode after that was just a love letter to Die Hard. And I think it's about as much as I could say about it.
Okay.
But the B plot of it was amazing and involved the Roy game, if you remember that. The one where you...
Yes. Yeah. A simulator where
you live an entire life.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you went back to the carpet store? Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you do that? Uh-huh. Yeah. Part of the episode deals with that game. And in a way that it's like it changes a character permanently forever. Oh. And not in a good way.
Ooh. Uh-huh.
And I'm like, again, it's just like, this is the type of show you got to be in the mood for, obviously. Okay. Rick and Morty, it's a ride. Yeah. It's certainly a ride. And they are doubling down on that ride this season. And I'm both excited and terrified to see where it goes next. But we got a bunch of stuff coming up, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But while we're talking about stuff we've been enjoying, we got to talk She-Hulk.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about She-Hulk.
Well, we didn't get any more Madison with 2 N's and 1 Y, but it's not where you think, and Wong, because I love them so much. This is still, I love this.
Oh, yeah.
Love this episode.
Yeah.
It was...
Now, this episode, there's no mid-credit scene.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I guess they figured that the ending, and which will not spoil the ending if you haven't seen it, but I guess they figured that ending was enough.
Yep.
Now, my understanding is, by reading interviews, that the last episode wasn't supposed to get a mid-credit scene either.
Okay.
But the chemistry between Wong and Madison was so cool. They sat down and improv that entire scene on the couch.
Oh, I love it.
It was all completely improv between the two of them. And they were like, this is so good, we've got to put it in.
Fantastic. And I even put out there, I was like, we've got Marvel's Edna Mode, because we knew there had to be one out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just, if he doesn't say no capes, I'll be upset. And we get to see his workshop, and like, I'm sure there are Easter eggs that I'm not counting the obvious one at the end, right before he puts the lid on the hat box.
Yeah. And that's all we can say.
That's all we can say.
That's all we can say.
I also see that, and I feel like, isn't that where the show would have had to have gone? Because of what she does for a living, they have to, right?
Yeah.
They just have to. So I'm really excited to see what happens next there.
Oh, yeah.
But I love this show, so.
Oh, yeah. I've enjoyed the heck out of it. What's really great about this episode is all the absolute cringe that's in it.
All the dates coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. All the delicious cringe. Mm-hmm. And I also love the fact that Pug's a sneakerhead. That's like the best thing ever. I love the fact that Pug, the lawyer, loves collecting sneakers.
I have to have one for, how did he say it? One for wearing and one for showing or something to display.
Oh, one to rock and one to stock.
One to rock and one to stock. Okay, yep. Yes. Ugh.
I have to say, I love where it's going. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that it's so different than everything else. And I get it. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not going to be dragging a certain group of people back into this conversation. But I will say that men need to be watching this show, because if they don't, who's going to explain what the show's about to the women?
The women, right?
So,
and that cute little scene they have that when they say, "I'm so glad we're friends," and then having to realize we really can't be because of our positions, and the glass ceiling doesn't allow us to do that.
That I think that's a joke that may go over the heads of a lot of guys, is this idea that women don't have the opportunities to build friendships with other women the way that men do, especially in a corporate situation where they're forced to be competitive, and they don't get those opportunities to build those relationships in the workplace because it's not that culture. But again, Jennifer Walters in this episode mentioning how She-Hulk is just a different part of her and all that stuff, but it's nice to be able to walk home in the dark with
my headphones on,
and not be worried about it, because women don't have that as an experience. And so,
I think I read something online, was a woman talked about her neighbor said something about her using the elevator instead of taking the stairs, and she said, I have to use the elevator because there are no cameras in the stairs.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that kind of realization that men don't have to deal with this.
Yeah, it's just something that you just don't even think about. And I love the fact that this show tackles some of that stuff, and they realize that, again, that they might take a little bit of backlash for it, a little bit, they don't care. And in fact, they'll poke the bear a little bit if they have to, just to let you know, yeah, we hear you.
We just don't care.
We just don't care. But now this is episode 5. There's only 4 episodes left, so we're past the midpoint. But yeah, I feel like the humor may not be to everybody's taste, but I get what they're doing. And the type of humor that they're doing, they're definitely hitting the mark. I love the fact that they lean into some cringe stuff because it's fun cringe. It's not like the bad kind of cringe. The whole courtroom scene with Jennifer, and we'll, again, don't want to put too much into it, but oh my God, that was so cringe.
Every single one of them.
Yeah, and you knew it was going to happen. But we get the second appearance of this guy who called her a specimen and asked if vibranium could pierce her skin. There's something more to that. We're going to see this guy again. You realize that, don't you? This is not about I wanted to go out on a date. I think there's definitely something more going on.
Someone has hired him to find out about her.
Yeah, or maybe he's the one who's trying to get her blood. So maybe he's trying to get some powers out of this. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much neat stuff that's coming up. And we got Wakanda Forever toward the end of the year. It's November, isn't it? Is it October or November?
I don't remember anymore.
Yeah. But
yeah, there's so much. It's a good time to be a geek.
Yeah, and in February, of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which they haven't released a trailer for it yet, but there was one at D23, and they said it's dark.
Ooh, okay.
And Scott Lang had gotten the crap kicked out of him by Kang in the trailer.
Okay.
So we're definitely getting Kang.
Yeah.
And we got all this really neat stuff. And of course, they announced the new Daredevil also.
Yes. Reborn?
Reborn. Now, apparently, it's not a sequel to the Netflix stuff. Apparently, this is going to be its own thing. But
we still had to have Charlie Cox because he's already...
Oh, yes. Charlie Cox came out.
We have to.
Yeah, we got to use Charlie Cox. And, of course, it looks like I have a feeling we might be seeing him again sooner than later. I think that's just a possibility. That's just possible. I don't know why I would say that. I just have this feeling we may be seeing Charlie Cox soon.
Okay.
But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, don't want to... No spoilers.
no spoilers, but I just have that feeling.
No
but
capes.
Yes, there is just
no capes.
Yep, no capes. But I'm just excited. There's a lot of great content, and there's just so much to look forward to. And we got Walking Dead is going to be coming up here soon as well. So we're getting toward the end.
Yeah.
Getting to the end of the year, and we're going to be hitting the end of the year with a bang.
Yes.
But I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 164. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.